There we go, folks. I'll try and remove that ugly head off the screen for you, and we'll make life a little bit easier for people to see that ugly head. How are you, folks? Happy Friday. Hope you're having a good one. Sorry about last night. We got caught up with a lot of other business yesterday and wound up working through way late. And unfortunately couldn't get to a show at about the appointed time yesterday. Unfortunately, today will be a short one as well. Being a Friday night, there are things to do. Actually, there's a meeting I've got to be at. So I'm going to be sneaking off to that very shortly. I did just want to show you one thing before I shoot off today. We were talking the other day about, mind control patents. Well, this is the electromagnetic or other directed energy pulse launcher. Does that sound interesting? You can click on that. You can click on the brainwave inducing system patent. You can check out what the nervous system manipulated by electromagnetic frequencies from monitors can do to you. Pulsative manipulation of the nervous system. That's another US patent. We have multifunctional radio frequency directed energy system. Where have you heard about them before? Raytheon are the developers of those. Manipulation of nervous systems by electronic fields. Method for incorporating brainwave entrainment into sound production, and many more. Now, if you would like to see the and many more, I think I have a site here which I can share with you there. This is called mind.com. Here you will be able to find all of these satanic, if you like, patents on mind control technology. It starts off with a quote from Tesla. Nikola Tesla said, "If you want to understand the mysteries of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." The satanic powers that have known this and have been using this scientific principle of frequency against us. Everything you see is an illusion. It is only the way your eyes interpret the resonation of the particular matter's vibration. Everything resonates at its own frequency. The molecules are continuously moving, resonating at its specific frequency. So other frequencies that comes into contact alters the frequency of the matter. The occult, the elite, have perfected frequency weapons to manipulate you by interacting the specific frequency designed to alter your frequency to get the desired response. They have skull-to-brain technology, putting actual audible voices in your head. And how many times have you heard in the news reporting on a shocking murder where a kid has killed their family, or a father has killed their family, or a mother has killed their family, and they say, "Oh, I had these voices telling me to do it." It can change your mood, can manipulate your physical makeup. Frequency is everything and can be used for good or bad purposes. That's why they use these puppet musicians to elicit certain frequencies and manipulate the mind and create a desired effect. Music can have that effect. 5G 60 hertz is a frequency that, amongst other effects, actually affect the electrons in oxygen, causing them to spin and make hard, and making it hard to absorb oxygen. Frequency is everything, and that's why it is such a potent weapon being used against us. You can see that there is a lot of detail on this website. So I would suggest minds.com, minds.com is where you go, and you can go through there and have a bit of a look at the various different patents that have been hidden from us. Some are quite frightening indeed. So minds.com is the place to go and check that one out, folks. That'll keep you entertained for a weekend. There is a wealth of mind-boggling, if only slightly frightening, information available in there. Have a quick glance to everybody. Hello, Sunflower. Lovely to see you in again tonight. And Aussie Sue's floating around as is always. Dave O was in the room early tonight. Well done, mate. You got in first. Hello, Melissa. Veronique, happy birthday for yesterday, because I wasn't on last night. So happy birthday for yesterday. I'm sorry I missed you last night. I was going to sing you happy birthday with accompaniment. Well, have to be next year now. How are you, Chris? G'day, Brett. Camilo's in the house, and I'm going to call you tomorrow, Camilo. We got to have a chat. Yeah, hello to everybody else. So yeah, a bit of a quiet one today. I want to tell you something that I'm hearing a lot of rumors about difficult to sort of back up at the moment. But I'm hearing a lot of movement about US troop movements in Australia. In fact, a lot of US military hardware on parade as it leaves Australia, is how it's been portrayed to me today. I know Jervis Bay has been very, very busy lately. A lot of maneuverings in and out of the bay. A lot of interesting ships coming in and out of the bay, and apparently the odd submarine. So that's interesting. The USS George Washington, if you've been watching this show for a while, you would know, has been sitting off the coast of the Sunshine Coast for near enough for the last 20 odd weeks, 18 to 20 weeks. It's just been on anchor, outside, over the horizon, and out of view. It has been, I'm led to believe, just inside the 12-mile territorial limit. I'm led to believe that 2 days ago, late day before yesterday, she upped anchor and looks like she is steaming towards home base back in America. We are watching a lot of flights. There have been certain flights that go, and a number of them that seem to depart Brisbane or Darwin, and occasionally Sydney, fly to Hawaii, get refueled, and then fly to Washington, D.C., where they're on the ground for a relatively short period of time in most cases. But within a short period of time of the Australian plane landing, there is another aircraft that leaves Washington, D.C., and flies direct to Guantanamo. So there has been some speculation that there are renditions happening in the country here at the moment. And in fact, I've seen stories today in one verging on mainstream media, you could nearly say, where they were reporting US Marines escorting people onto a US Marine vessel. Now, that little report had no detail in it. It didn't say what city, much less what kind of vessel, much less how they knew they were Marines who were doing the escorting. So there's a lot of furfies floating around and nothing that you can really back up. So bear that in mind at the moment, folks. Things are interesting. Tomorrow, 27th, is a key date, supposedly. It'll be Sunday, our time. I know that there are meetings happening around the world with various different organizations based around that date. I'm not exactly sure if they're all meeting for the same reason or because they think there is some conjunction coming together that we all have to be aware of. But the 27th does seem to be showing interesting revelations. Now, the 25th was also meant to do that. And I've just been flat out. I've been filming and editing for the last couple of days, so I haven't been able to get across really what the mainstream liars are telling us. But I suspect that there might be a few interesting things happening in America at the moment. And Jim Jordan's subcommittee into the weaponization of Congress has just started peeling back the onion there. So too the Congressional Oversight Committee. There is, I think at the moment there are 4 investigations going on inside Congress into what's gone on over the last however long Biden's been in assumed power. We call it assumed power because nobody actually believes he has any of it. If you still are unconvinced that you're watching a movie, I just send you back once again to go and have a look at Donald Trump's executive orders that cannot be countermanded. They cannot be countermanded. When a US president fires off 1, let alone 5 decrees of states of emergency for America and gets ignored by the Congress, and instead the Congress decides to try and impeach him on fake charges, trumped up charges, which the Durham report now lays bare. All of those impeachments, the 2 impeachments that they tried on Trump, were made up. We all knew it. A lot of trolls, I think, believed it, but we all knew, those of us with our eyes wide open, that it was all a fake. The Durham report lays open, completely bare, the traitorous FBI, the traitorous DOJ, the traitorous CIA, and a number of other three-letter agencies. Now, if you think for one moment, that the US military is going to let that happen on their watch, you're very wrong. They will not allow it to happen. And that's why certain things were done while Trump was in, well, to be shown to be in power as the president. Certain things were done. Certain laws were followed to the letter. Certain letters were sent to the Capitol, to every member of the Capitol, explaining that they were ignoring a presidential declaration of emergency. 5 times sent to congressmen. 5 times the Democrat-held Congress ignored all that. Well, that's treason. You cannot ignore a president's declaration of emergency. He identified significant, clear, and present danger. And in those executive orders, he outlines exactly where that clear and present danger is going to come from. Voting was one of them. But certainly that was only the tip of the iceberg. As you know, over the last 6 years, we've found out just how deep some of those rabbit holes can go. I'm sure they'll go a bit deeper yet, particularly around the Clintons. So please go and do yourself a favor. Go and reread, if you haven't read them already, go and read them for the first time, the executive orders from Donald Trump starting September 12, 2018. And he was quite prolific from that time forward. There were a couple, I believe, maybe on the 9th of September, I want to say. They are still significant, but less so for what we're talking about. So if you are in absolutely any doubt that we are watching a movie, that Donald Trump still is, well, he's not the president. That's for sure. He is definitely not the president of the United States. What he is, though, is the commander-in-chief. That's what happens when the military take over. And that's what the military did 12 months to the day after Congress ignored the first declaration of emergency from the president. They warned them. They said, if you don't act on this in 12 months, we will have to act. So the military did act. Now, that made it 2019, going into 2020. Some of the executive orders that Donald Trump signed didn't actually begin until midnight on the eve, if you like, of the 2020 presidential election. Some of them came into being a couple of days beforehand. Agencies, military groups tasked with keeping track of the election. All of that really did happen, folks. It really did happen. And now we just wait to see the results of that. Fingers crossed, sooner rather than later. As I said the other night in one of the shows, we're hearing really strange talk about, well, when things could be shown. We're hearing significant issues with the financial system, but we've been hearing that since, middle of last year. So, yeah, look, financial system set to crash. Yes, it's all a bit shaky. Yes, the black money is being funneled into that fiat system at the moment to keep it up. So I dare say what the plan, if there is such a plan, is that they're trying to drain as much of the black money out of the system so that they can pull the plug on the system. And I believe JP Morgan Chase will be the catalyst, the trigger, if you like, for the collapse. They are holding so much debt. So much American debt. Didn't Trump jail Assange? No, Trump didn't jail Assange. Assange was jailed in the UK to begin with. And Assange was hunted during the Obama administration initially. So that's when he went into hiding. Well, not so much hiding, but went into the Ecuadorian embassy in the UK and spent, 8 years there or something? So, yeah, no, Trump didn't do that. And in fact, there's quite an interesting backstory between the Trumps and the Assanges, shall we just say. Once again, that's a pretty out there kind of a story, but who am I to say that it's untrue? There is a great deal of speculation that Donald Trump's uncle the brother of Donald Trump's father, has been heavily involved in all of this right from the word go. In fact, Donald Trump's uncle was in charge of the hotel that Tesla was staying in when he died or disappeared or whatever it is that he did. And it is believed that Trump's uncle removed all of Tesla's designs from the hotel safe and whisked them away so that nobody else could get a hold of them. No three-letter agencies could get a hold of them. Apparently, Trump's uncle and Tesla had been speaking on quite regular basis about Tesla's experiments and his plans for the world and free energy and all that sort of stuff. And Trump's uncle, very interestingly, was part of all of that and seems to have kept the paperwork. If you see a picture of Donald Trump's uncle and you put a picture of Donald Trump's uncle up and one of Julian Assange, well, do that. Just see what you think. Some say they look uncannily similar. Uncannily similar. So yeah, no, Trump didn't jail anybody. Trump didn't jail Assange, and he did talk him up. You know, oh, he's a bad dude. He's a bad this. He's a bad that. But why fight the Assange fight in public if you're Trump doing what he was doing at the time? He didn't need to do that. I would just about lay London to a brick that Julian Assange is not in Belmarsh prison. He has not been under rendition taken to America and thrown into the deepest, darkest hole in solitary confinement that they could find. I don't believe that Julian Assange is locked up anywhere other than a secure location where he won't be seen in public, and he might have an awful lot of other famous people around him. I believe he's still working on WikiLeaks, and there are others who feel the same way. His writing style is very unique, and if you look at the writing styles today on WikiLeaks, you'll find that they are very similar to what he was writing back, 5 or 10 years ago on WikiLeaks too. So yeah, there's an interesting hook up there somewhere. It's unclear, but I reckon there's an interesting hook up there somewhere. Yeah, there you go. Kirsten's got an idea. John Trump equals Julian Assange's son, cousin to Trump. Yep. So there has been that thrown around. But they do look surprisingly similar. But look, it's all hopium at the end of the day, isn't it? And I'm sick and tired of bloody hopium. We've got to get off and win this war ourselves, folks. And that's part of the reason why tonight's going to be a show that's a bit short, because I'm going off to have a fight. Not a real fight, but we're going off to help fight the battle. We're going to hit the road again shortly, and I've been talking to Michelle Palmer. You might see us down in the Blue Mountains in June for, well, maybe 2 shows the way things are going, but we'll try and nut that together, and I'll give you some details in the not too distant future. If you're in the Sydney or the Blue Mountains area, it will be a pretty much an invite-only kind of gig, because Michelle's place is not terribly large, and we are going to be looking for an intimate atmosphere, I think is the way of putting it. So we will probably do tickets for that one through the website, just so that we don't wind up getting more people turning up and blocking the road up into the Blue Mountains because they can't get into the property. So we'll figure that out, and I'll give you more details on that shortly. We're also going north with John, and that run promises to be, well, exciting, I dare say, and fish-filled. So we'll get that one going after we've been down to Sydney. We're going to try and get our mobile home thing organised, and make sure we know how to turn the electrics on and off, and make sure it's not going to blow up on us halfway there. We'll do a little test run, and then hopefully we'll head north. And then after that, I'll leave John, because, well, 2 trips to the south in the winter would nearly kill the old pirate. We're going to be heading to South Australia and Victoria. After that, I don't know why it is I always come to Victoria in bloody winter. Winter in Victoria is the reason I left Victoria. So, yeah, I don't know. Bill, there's an interesting story I hadn't heard. Spawning kids around the world at 68. Interesting times. Interesting times. I will have a show for you over the weekend, folks. I'm not sure if it will be tomorrow or Sunday night. I am working on something for Sunday, so fingers crossed. It's all about international timelines. So with a bit of luck, we'll have something for you there on Sunday. A lot of people have contacted me about QSI. A lot of people have contacted me about QSI. I've been having a lot of thoughts about QSI, some of which I had in the car the other day while I was driving over to meet Quantum Brownie. I'm still looking into QSI. I know Vince has laid down what he believes, but I am still looking into it. There's something that doesn't sit right with the way we've ended this with me. There's something about it I want to believe in it. And there are too many issues, humanitarian and the like, around it that are backed up in real fact that don't lead into the scam mantra. And just on this, now I did speak to Vince about this, and he had an answer, but I've since done a little bit more investigation and found out that his answer doesn't match up. So I've thought a lot. I've gone back through all the emails that I've had over QSI in the time that we've had QSI on the Voice of Freedom, and I've had a lot. I have had hundreds of people abuse the crap out of me for dealing with QSI. I have received hate messages, I will call them, from people who cannot believe I've been suckered by QSI or, all this. I've had my admin person flip out on me halfway through the first show and quit because I was talking to QSI. That just made me more interested to find out why such an emotive reaction, why all of this drama surrounding it. So I went back through all of these emails and I looked, hundreds of them yesterday, hundreds of them. I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked. And yes, there was a lot of people saying they're a scam, they're a scam, they're a scam. Don't get suckered in. They do it this way. They rob you from that and they do that with that. But not one of those emails, not one line in one of those emails does anyone say, I'm a victim. I have lost. QSI took my money and I have lost. Not one victim. A lot of people with an opinion and abuse, but not one financial victim. Now, forgive me, I might be wrong, but how can you have a scam if you don't have a victim? Now, could that be because the victims don't know they're victims yet? Maybe. I mean, we're clutching at straws a bit, but maybe. Okay, is it a money laundering operation? Well, there's no proof of that I can find. I mean, none. So for it to be a scam, I think we need a victim. Now, when I approached this subject with Vince, I said to Vince, where's our victim? He said, good question. We don't have any victims. But then he started looking at the way they pay out XLM and whatnot in the bonuses of the assets that you buy. And it turns out that if you invest 300 XLM and get 30 XLM back, say, for the bonus, that I will get, if I invest 10 XLM, I'll get the same 30 XLM back. Now, if you invest 300 XLM to get 30, and I invest 10 to get 30, then I am 20 XLM better up on the deal, one would have thought, than you are. You would have lost money on the deal if you'd spent your 100 or whatever it was. But the QSI system has agreed that all these bonuses will be paid back at a flat rate, same to everybody, regardless of the size of the investment. And that is for whatever reasons are explained in the QSI education. And they did tell me this. It's to make sure that it's a fair and balanced return for everybody, so that you don't wind up creating huge whales within the asset group. Now, okay, I can understand how that could work. XLM, I'm looking at something down here. But it's not real XLM. It's their version of XLM, says Bill. Yep, right. Okay. Well, that does look like it could well be the case too. I'm just saying, Bill, that there needs to be more investigation here. Where are the victims? QSI is a global organization. If they are ripping off millions of people, as my emails tell me, you tell me, that they're ripping people off, they're ripping people off, they're ripping people off. But not one of the people that's been ripped off has sent an email complaining about it. Not to me, anyway. So that confuses me. Just confuses me. So I don't know. I think there's some more digging is required to fully understand what's what and who's who in the zoo here. Because I don't understand. I don't pretend to understand it. People with a greater knowledge of QSI and a greater understanding and knowledge of crypto than I might be able to explain all this really well. But don't go explaining it on somebody else's behalf because you think they've been ripped off. If you've lost money, if you've invested, if you've followed QSI advice and they said, take your hard-earned cash out of your bank and give it to us in the form of XYZ, and they promised you something that they never delivered, then I'd call you a victim. But I haven't got anybody like that. Nobody. So if you are like that, email me, carl@vofhq.com, and I'll go on further and ask questions. But at the moment, I am struggling to find a victim. And I would have thought for there to be a crime, a scam, there needs to be a victim. Now, as near as I can tell, all the people who are involved in QSI are very comfortable with their involvement and are quite happy with whatever return they are getting on the asset advice they are given. Some might be bigger returns, some might be smaller returns. And as the crank has said numerous times during our QSI lessons, you've got to have a bit of faith. Now, if you've got your eyes open and you're in this war and you don't have any faith, you're not aware of God or the fact that this could be a biblical war. I don't know what more I can do to try and help you understand that there are much larger things happening around the world than we are aware of, and they are on a phenomenally large biblical scale. If you don't want to see it, you don't want to see it. I was talking with an atheist recently who refuses to see any and all of that. In fact, only chooses to see the evil in God for letting babies get cancer and for horrible things happening. Nobody ever said God is a merciful God. God is a loving God. God is a just God. Maybe we need to really understand what the word just means in a biblical sense. Because when God takes a set against you, you've got a battle on your hands, I would have thought. I mean, how many times every day do we hold our hands up in the air and shriek, "Oh, God," when something else happens to slow us down, to bugger up our day? We're always good at blaming God for things like that. But I think what we need to do is embrace him a little bit more, learn a little bit more, get a little bit closer to God. Maybe this war will end just that little bit quicker. Because I have faith that it will. I have faith that there really is a war going on. And I have faith that God is on our side and we have won or are winning. But we, the people, we, the awake, have to stand up. We, the awake, have to wake more people up. We, the awake, have to be the support pillars for our community. Because when they do finally wake up, they're going to be where you were when you first woke up. 2, 3, 4 years ago, 10 years ago, 50 years ago. It doesn't matter when you woke up. Try and think back to the revelations, the shock, the simple head shaking, where you eventually had to come to terms, and how you had to eventually come to terms to accept some of the things that we know to be true. So keep the fight going, folks. Power on. Power on. Be positive. I think this weekend's going to be, I've got a really good feeling about this weekend. I do not know why. I have no special intel. No secret American man has come to me and said, oh, listen, Carl, why don't you come on the show and we'll tell you this. There has been none of that. I just have a feeling that something is happening, something close. And on Monday, I'll say, well, wasn't that a shit feeling? Don't ever bother listening to my feelings again, folks. That's just how it is. But anyway, faith is what pleases God, not fear. You are 100% right, Anne. Show your faith in God. Show your faith in God. Have a little faith. And if you're holding a bit of QSI crypto, have a little faith it's all going to fill up. Maybe. I don't know. That could be what it's about. QSI, have they come back to me with a response? I've had a lot of responses from a lot of different people. I am still waiting to hear from Emily. I'm not going to hear from Whip. I can be pretty comfortable in knowing that I'm not going to hear from Whip. But I would hope that Emily would come and talk. Now, apparently there was a big QSI meeting. I want to say it was last night or the night before. I'm waiting to get a copy of that. I was actually sent a link so I could go into it and watch it live. Unfortunately, I was unavailable. I'm waiting to get the link for that so that I can watch that show, where Emily does explain a great many things, apparently, in great detail. I'm not really interested in going and watching her 3-hour video to find the 5 minutes that I'm interested in. But if somebody can highlight the 5 minutes that I'm interested in finding out about, where she addresses these things, then okay, great. I personally believe that if QSI Australia means that much to her, she will come on this show and explain it to us. We're the ones asking the questions. At the moment, she seems to be turning up at the QSI events. And I know she's a busy woman, busy lady. Fully appreciate it. But Voice of Freedom people have, by QSI's own admission, really gone into this site, really gone in and had a look. There are a lot of Voice of Freedomism in the QSI Australia pages. That's great. If you're all into it, wonderful. What I want is Emily to come and tell us the answers. We need to hear it from the top. That's all. Come and tell me the answers, Emily. The offer is there. We're not trying to trap you. We're not trying to hang you. Please come and tell us where we got it wrong, is what I'm asking. And I'm halfway helping you. I'm still trying to think of, things like, where are the victims? Ordinarily I would have just turned off the show on Monday night and not thought about QSI again, just walked off on it. But I can't for some reason. There are these thoughts that keep coming back to me, and they keep coming back to me for a reason. So I don't know, maybe it's my autism. I've got to get that reason straight in my head. I've got to figure that out before I can walk away from it, if that makes sense to you. So I'm going to keep looking at it, and I'm going to hope that Emily comes on the show and explains it to us. I can tell you, for every week she doesn't come on the show, it just rings alarm bells to me. All right? It either means that we are not worth the effort, her time and effort, to come on the show. Therefore, why would it be worth my time and effort to ever bother talking about QSI again? Or she feels uncomfortable about having to come on and answer some questions, which, I don't know, everybody I've spoken to in QSI seems to think she's well-versed in everything. And in fact, every video of hers I've seen, you couldn't get a lady better prepared. She knows a lot. So she's a very, very, very impressive presenter. So I don't know why she'd be worried about coming on here if that's the case. No, I see it as a huge mark of a lack of respect for her Australian QSI people. The fact that she wants to leave Jane at the front of this at the moment, and Jane's not of a level that she can answer some of the questions that we have, it has to come from the top. So the ball's in QSI's court. I've made a very genuine offer. My door is open. Let's come and talk. But it's not open forever. You don't get to run whatever this is for the next 6 months and then come and tell me that it wasn't whatever we said it was after you've taken all the money out of the system. Doesn't work like that. I will keep dragging us back to this until somebody from the top end of QSI comes and explains it. It's that simple. I really hope that they do so sooner rather than later. There was talk that Charlie Ward was in last night's or the night before's QSI show. I don't believe that was the case. I believe it was Emily and one other. And Charlie, at this stage, at least, has not been seen. And as far as I'm aware, everything on his website that mentions QSI has been removed. So I don't know what that relationship is at the moment. Charlie, of course, is recovering at the moment. From what I'm not completely sure, but he may be gone and out of action for 1 or 2 weeks. So all in all, more questions than answers, I think, is the way I'm putting that at the moment. More questions than answers. And I really hope that the opportunity is accepted by Emily to come on Voice of Freedom and explain how we got it so wrong. I have a lot of faith that the quantum financial reset is coming our way. I have less faith, a great deal of want, but less faith in a Nasara Jassara flood of money turning up into everyone's accounts. I think we'll probably get something, but millions and millions and millions of bucks, don't see that's going to be. I find that very hard to see how it's going to work. Without people can't manage money now. They can't manage their fucking dole money now. I'd be one of them. Not that I'm on the dole. I'm a shithouse money manager. What are you going to do when you give them however many millions of dollars? There are going to be a lot of sharks, a lot of human sharks running around trying to take that money because they're greedy bastards. Even though they've probably got more money than a number of the people they're targeting put together, they will still keep targeting it. So we, the people, will need to be taking some control over the actions of those people and bringing them to heel in a court, a people's court, a common law court. I've been receiving a lot of stuff about common law recently too, and in fact, just saw an email before I came on tonight. I will go back into that email. It's a whole bunch of slides that look suspiciously like Fitz, but we do talk. They do talk a great deal about Magna Carta 1215, about constitutions and where we have been usurped. I'll try and get a look into that more deeper over the weekend and bring you something with that next week too. Yeah, that fire in Sydney, I'm guessing, is what you're talking about there, Anne. The fire in Surrey Hills, was it? Yeah, I've got a feeling about that fire too. There's something more to that. Oh, I see. I'm not the only one. There is. Yeah, I can see there's a few people in there thinking the same thing. Okay, so no one would ever want to work if they had all the money in the world. I don't think that's the case. I actually believe that, okay, there will be some people who never want to go to work again, and God love them for it. There will be some people who have only ever worked all their lives, that's all they ever know, and they will keep doing it because they love it. There will be some people who feel, all right, let's use service station owners as an example. We wake up one morning, there's $45 million in everybody's bank account, and you're the owner of a petrol station that is pretty wealthy already. You don't have to worry about too much. Maybe you've got a number of petrol stations. I don't know if there are wealthy petrol station owners, but just for the sake of the argument, you don't have to worry about how you're paying your bills every week, unlike some of the people that probably work for you. on casual rates, getting casual hours, and going from week to week, not knowing how much they're going to have next week to live on. That's what our unions have brought to us, because they wanted to have this sort of arrangement where people could be flexible in their job, but all it did was give the employers a lot of flexibility into who they employed and how they employed them. So if you've got all this sway behind you, this power behind you, when you're in the workplace, how is it that with our governments doing what they're doing at the moment, we haven't been able to break loose from the old government work methods, 8 hours a day, 5-6 days a week, and that's where our mantra comes from. So I think a petrol station owner who doesn't have to worry about the money will be more concerned about people who need petrol. And yes, there might be a lot of workers that he employs that don't come to work anymore, but there will be people who'll say, "Yeah, look, I'll go and pump some petrol. Yeah, no worries. I'll make sure the power's turned on. I'll do that. Cool, no worries." There are people who still love flowers and want to buy a bouquet of flowers, and there are people who still love growing them and still love flower arranging. So they will still do that. Everybody's job will still be doable. Whether or not anybody wants to do it could be the other thing. But I also believe that we are good people. We are humanitarian at heart. We want to help rather than hurt. And if we have all the financial pressure taken off us with whatever amount of money it is that's put in the bank overnight, then yes, we will all have a holiday. Yes, we will all go and buy something that we've always wanted, probably. But I guarantee you, once the first lot have gone out and bought what we always wanted, there won't be anybody around to make any more of it for a little while. So those of us who miss out on the first run probably will lose interest by the time they get the replacement stock in, because we'll have other things to do. We will be rebuilding our communities at a level that I don't think even any of us can comprehend. When we have no worries about money, when we have no stress over how we're going to pay this bill, send the kid on this camp, buy the kids that book or those shoes or these clothes, how are we going to pay the goddamn electricity bill? Because they're only going to keep coming and get bigger and bigger and bigger. Maybe a lot of us will turn our attention to new energy sources so we don't have to bother screwing around with these electric companies using their old wire technology. So it's hard to explain why I don't think we're going to be, a nation or a globe of rich people who do nothing and starve to death because they can't cook their own food. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. I think humanity will raise at a whole different level when everybody's financial problem is gone. And when we catch the first few scammers who, although they've got their $45 million in their bank account or whatever it is, enough money to live on for the rest of their lives and never have to worry about anything, and yet they still want to come and steal yours, well, there's a certain place in hell lined up waiting for those bastards, I can tell you. And there'll be people who will hunt them and put them there, because we will not allow whatever our new society is going to be to mimic this ugly one we're currently in. I'm going to have to shoot off. You have a good night. I'll talk to you over the weekend, folks. Be safe on the roads. And remember, as I always say, watch out for the dickheads.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!